Are you tired of watching your net worth remain negative or stagnate while everyone else seems to be getting ahead? Well, you're not alone. A lot of people wonder why their net worth isn't increasing and what they can do to improve it. Today, we're diving deep into 4 game-changing steps you need to take when your net worth is lower than $10,000. These aren't just any steps. They're the solid foundation that'll set you up for long-term financial success. Before we jump into our 4 steps, let's talk about a shocking statistic. Did you know that 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? That's right, over half the country is just one missed paycheck away from financial trouble. But here's the twist. It's not just about how much you earn. It's about how you manage what you have. So whether you're just starting your financial journey, fresh out of college, or you've been struggling to build wealth for years, these steps are going to be your blueprint for success. Let's dive into step number 1. Know where your money is going. It sounds simple, right? But you'd be amazed how many people have no clue where their hard-earned cash disappears to each month. So here's what I want you to do. For the next 2 weeks, track every single penny you spend. And I mean every penny. That $5 coffee, write it down. The $40 you spent on groceries, jot it down. Even that $25 you spent on gas, it all counts. Use a notebook, use your phone, use whatever works for you. But make sure you're capturing everything. Now, after those 2 weeks, you're going to have a financial roadmap of your spending habits. And let me tell you, it might be a bit of a shock, but don't worry, that's totally normal. The next step is to categorize your spending. How much are you dropping on needs versus wants? Are there any areas where you're overspending without even realizing it? This is where it all happens. You're creating a budget, my friends, and it's going to be your secret weapon in the battle for financial freedom. Here's where it gets personal. You need to decide what's really important to you. For me, it's entertainment subscriptions. I spend about $175 a month on video streams, and you know what? I don't feel guilty about it one bit. Why? Because it brings me joy and helps me de-stress. But on the flip side, I cut out ordering food from apps because I realized I wasn't getting much value from it. It's all about prioritizing what matters to you and ruthlessly cutting out the rest. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I barely make enough to cover my bills as it is. I hear you, and we're going to address that later in the video. But for now, focus on finding areas where you can cut back, even if it's just a little. Switch from soda to water. Hit up the library instead of the bookstore. Cook at home instead of ordering takeout. These small changes add up fast, and before you know it, you'll be saving 10% of your paycheck each month. That's your goal, folks. 10%. It might seem tough now, but stick with me and we'll get you there. Let's move on to step 2. Invest in yourself. This is where the rocket really starts to take off. You see, while budgeting is critical, you can't budget your way to wealth if you're not making enough to begin with. So it's time to level up your earning potential. Now, I'm not talking about getting a PhD or anything crazy like that. I'm talking about strategic moves that can boost your income without breaking the bank. One of the best ways to do this is by getting certifications in your field. Let me give you an example. If you're in the logistics and transportation industry, becoming a certified automotive fleet manager could bump your salary from $55K to $70K per year. That's a $15,000 increase. And the best part, many of these certifications can be done online, often for a fraction of the cost of traditional education. So do some research in your industry. Find out what certifications are in demand and start working towards them. Trust me, your future self will thank you. But what if you need a quicker boost to your income? That's where side hustles come in. Now, I know you're probably thinking, I don't have time for a second job, but hear me out. I'm talking about just 2 to 5 hours a week. That's it, and it can make a huge difference. Let me share a personal story. I used to flip used items on eBay. I'd look for in-demand items on eBay while in a thrift store to buy them, and then resell them. It only took a few hours each week, but it netted me an extra $250 to $300 a month. That's $3,000 to $3,600 a year. Imagine what that could do for your savings goals. All right, We're halfway there. Step 3 is all about creating your financial safety net, the emergency fund. Now, I know it's not the sexiest topic, but trust me, it's a game changer. Here's the deal. You want to aim for 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up. So if your monthly necessities cost $2,000, you're looking at a goal of $6,000, $12,000. I know it sounds like a lot, but remember, we're playing the long game here. Here's a pro tip for building that emergency fund. Set up a high-yield savings account. These accounts often offer interest rates way higher than your typical checking account. We're talking about potentially earning an extra $250 a year on a $5,000 balance. That's free money, folks. And here's the kicker. Set up automatic transfers from your checking to this savings account. It's like having a personal financial assistant making sure you save every month. You'll barely notice the money leaving your account, but you'll sure notice when that emergency fund starts growing. Now, let's talk about step 4, and this might surprise you. It's not investing, at least not yet. The fourth crucial step when you're under that 10K net worth mark is to eliminate high-interest consumer debt. I'm talking about any debt with an interest rate of 15% or higher. Why? Because it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much you save or invest, that high-interest debt is going to keep draining your wealth. Let's break it down. If you have a credit card with an 18.99% APR and you're carrying a balance, you're essentially losing 18.99% on that money every year. Now, the stock market typically returns about 8 to 10% per year on average. So by paying off that high-interest debt, you're essentially getting a guaranteed 18.99% return on your money. Show me an investment that can guarantee that kind of return. Plus, there's the psychological benefit. Getting rid of that debt hanging over your head. It's like taking a weight off your shoulders. Trust me, your stress levels will thank you. Now, here are some quick tips to supercharge your journey to that 10K net worth. First, break your goal down into smaller chunks. Instead of focusing on 10K, aim for $500 first, then $1,000, then $2,000. It's like running a marathon. You focus on the next mile marker, not the finish line. Before you know it, you'll be crossing that 10K finish line. Next up, we have what I call the 2% rule. Anytime you're considering a discretionary purchase that's more than 2% of your net worth, take a pause, sleep on it, give it a week or even a month. As your net worth grows, you might even want to tighten this to a 1% rule. The point is, avoid making impulse purchases that could derail your progress. And finally, here's an old school tip that still works wonders. Try paying for things in cash. I know, it seems outdated in this digital age, but there's something about physically handing over your hard-earned money that makes you think twice about your purchases. It's a psychological trick that can lead to big changes in your spending habits. Subscribe.